Hello nerds. Today we are looking at Takopi's Original Sin, an anime series released in 2025. Takopi's Original Sin follows three kids, Shizuka, Marina, and Naoki, who each have their own trauma that they are confronted with. The titular Takopi is a little pink alien whose mission is to make Shizuka happy, but this naive alien comes to learn how unforgiving humankind can be. Takopi's Original Sin originated as a manga written and illustrated by Tyson 5, while the anime was directed and screenwritten by Shinya Aino, who previously directed episodes of Dr. Stone, Made in Abyss, and Freerin. The series' unique art style was brought to life by Nishiya. Now with the background out of the way, let's see what Takopi's Original Sin is all about. We begin with a girl in 2016 named Shizuka, who meets a cute little alien who will be named Takopi. The intro is very childlike and upbeat, which represents the cute, lighthearted side of the show. But unfortunately, there is darkness within it. We learn that Takopi is a Happian from planet Happy. Their mission is to spread happiness throughout the universe. They have magical tools called Happy Gadgets to help with their quest. It is clearly seen that Shizuka is depressed and also not financially stable, concepts that Takopi doesn't understand. She is relentlessly bullied by another student named Marina. Takopi takes a picture with Shizuka with their happy camera. Day by day, Takopi tries to lift Shizuka's spirits until she brings them home one day. She has a dog named Chappie and a mother who is an escort. Takopi promises that one day they'll take her to Planet Happy. The next day, Shizuka arrives dirty and beaten while holding Chappie's collar. Takopi gives Shizuka her reconciliation ribbon at a request, despite being against the rules. Up to now, there's been an uneasy feeling, kind of like a pit in your stomach. At the beginning of each episode, there is a suicide warning, and it doesn't take a lot of thought to know what happens next. Takopi apologizes to Shizuka. As a last resort, Takopi uses their happy camera to go back in time to when they took a picture of Shizuka, the secret function of the happy camera. It is now Takopi's mission to find out why Shizuka took her own life, and to make her happy enough to prevent her fate. Shizuka takes Takopi to school, and they disguise themselves as a flower to see Shizuka's school life, and over time begin to combat Marina's bullying tactics. A meetup between Shizuka and Marina is planned, and Takopi decides to take the form of Shizuka in order to bear the pain of talking to Marina. However, Takopi learns firsthand why it's so painful to talk to Marina. They get beaten and eventually stabbed before going back in time again. Despite their new fear of Marina, Takopi helps Shizuka out by asking for help from a teacher and another student in the form of Shizuka. Shizuka realizes everything Takopi is doing to improve her life, stating that things aren't so bad these days. However, we learn that Marina is bullying her because her dad is hooking up with Shizuka's mom and neglecting his family. Marina returns home to a hell of her own at the hands of her mother. In contrast, Shizuka is sleeping peacefully with Chappie and Takopi. First, the animation and music are beautiful, obviously. But damn, this story is pulling no punches. Despite the cuteness and naivety Takopi brings, it is still overshadowed by the unforgiving misery these characters experience. We are in for a tough time, and I believe we are all praying for a happy ending for these children and Takopi. An excellent and deeply emotional pilot episode. We learn Shizuka's nihilism began when her dad divorced her mom and left them. The night before Shizuka dies arrives, and Marina appears to provoke Chappie to bite her in order to get Chappie taken by animal control, which leads to Shizuka's suicide. Takopi goes back in time again and again, but no matter what, Chappie gets taken. Their mission is now to get Chappie back. Marina lures Shizuka into the woods to talk. Due to her mother's manipulation, Marina torments Shizuka with the supposed death of Chappie. Shizuka gets beaten again due to being the daughter of the woman who took Marina's father and their money away. Takopi decides that they can no longer sit by and watch this unfold, so they hit Marina with their camera, killing her. Due to her mental deterioration, Shizuka's sense of morality has faltered as she smiles and cries tears of joy at the death of Marina. thanking Takopi. Takopi's camera broke in the process, which means no more undoing failures. They will have to live with this. I am impressed. They somehow made the story darker than it already was. I don't know what to feel at this point. There are so many conflicting emotions I feel for these characters. A boy who has been trying to help Shizuka named Naoki discovers Shizuka and Takopi over the dead body of Marina. He demands that she turns herself in after correctly stating how fucked this is. However, Shizuka unknowingly manipulates him into helping her cover up the crime with Takopi. Takopi also takes the form of Marina to further help cover up. I must say, it's quite disturbing how we're seeing this girl we've heavily sympathized with now turned into a criminal casually burying another child's body with happy music in the background. They are planning on going to Tokyo to find Chappie, but in the meantime, Naoki attempts to steal his big brother's ring out of jealousy with Takopi. The trio continue to bond over their scheming, but as Takopi imitates Marina, they witness the domestic abuse that was the source of her misery. Something that is inevitably inflicted upon Takopi, as her mother notices that they are not her daughter. Takopi realizes what they have done and falls under the weight of their sins. Speaking of, the police have found Marina's corpse. Naoki is freaking out because Marina's death is now public. Despite that, he is still motivated to do everything he can to make everything perfect. It is in this episode that we learn why. Naoki gets a really bad test score, and to his surprise, he gets rewarded by his mother. Not because of compassion or empathy, but because she doesn't care how he does anymore. Shizuka gets questioned by the police, so in order to clear her name, she tells Naoki to turn himself in for the murder. Shizuka's manipulation works so well with Naoki because Naoki has always lived in the shadow of his older brother, Junior, who has always got perfect grades. Naoki, being less than perfect, meant that he wasn't worthy in his mother's eyes, so she neglected him. Naoki did everything he could to be the perfect son for his mother, but he always came up short. So now he's doing everything he can to be the perfect conspirator for a girl who looks like his mother and has given him praise and affection, something that he has been starving for, which is why he covered up Shizuka and Takopi's crime. As Naoki prepares to turn himself in, he is confronted by his brother, who can tell that something is wrong. Naoki breaks and lets everything out, and Junior, being the good older brother he is, comforts him. He tells him that he's not perfect either. Naoki confesses his involvement in Marina's murder. The police believe he was coerced and all trails are leading back to Shizuka. Takopi believes they should confess too, but Shizuka can't, because they're going to Tokyo. I really like this episode for its clear focus on Naoki's mental state as a neglected child. I actually liked it more than the more emotionally intense first two episodes, possibly because it actually has a somewhat happy conclusion, something I'm praying is at the end of the show. Shizuka and Takopi make it to Tokyo only to find Shizuka's dad with other children and a pet of his own. Sweeping his sins under the rug, he pretends to not know Shizuka. Takopi begs Shizuka to go home as her mental state and morality decline rapidly. Then, Takopi remembers their original mission. In 2022, their mission was to make Marina happy. Marina, like before, must deal with the emotional and physical abuse of her mother. She decides to get together with Naoki in order to bring some stability and please her mother. She tells Takopi that things aren't so bad these days. However, Naoki's attention is taken by the new girl, Shizuka. When Naoki doesn't come over for dinner at Marina's house, Marina's mother completely loses it, and in self-defense, Marina kills her mother. Takopi comes home to see what happened. Marina believes she should have killed Shizuka in the 4th grade in order to prevent all of this from happening. Takopi heeds her words and decides to do just that. They return to Happy Plant to use the big happy clock to go back in time to 2016. However, their memory is fogged by their mother for disobeying the rules, which leads us to the present. Takopi's memories have tangled their mind, leaving them a confused mess of morality, which Naoki stumbles across. What a plot twist. This little naive alien has to bear the weight of these 3 humans when all they want to do is see them smile. Let's see how things wrap up. Takopi expresses their confused emotions about Shizuka to Naoki, saying that they don't understand how she's both good and bad. Naoki simply says, she is. People can be both good and bad. He came to see Takopi to thank him for giving him some happiness, and he returns the happy camera. Naoki leaves ready to face the consequences of his actions. Takopi sits and waits for months as it's implied that Shizuka kidnapped her father's other children in order to find Chappie. She eventually returns to find Takopi. They try to stop her from taking further action, but she enters an emotional rage as she demands to know what she should have done about every bad thing that happened to her in her life. Takopi says they don't know, and they apologize for trying to help without trying to listen and understand what she had to say. They both embrace bearing the pain they both hold. They wander for days until eventually Takopi decides to use the happy camera one last time. Using all of their happy powers, they make the camera work one last time, sacrificing themselves in order to turn back time once more. Shizuka breaks down as Takopi fades away, thanking her for spending time and playing with them. We return to when the photo was taken, but Takopi is no longer there. However, Shizuka, Marina, and Naoki have the faintest of memories of the little pink alien. Naoki gets closer to his older brother by being in a fight with him, something he told Takopi to tell his past self if he were to turn back time again. And because of that, he stays out of the girls' lives. However, when it comes to Shizuka and Marina, the bullying continues until Marina recognizes a sketch of Takopi that Shizuka drew. They both recognize it and remember it. Takopi gave them something they could both connect with. It wasn't any of their gadgets that did it, but Takopi themselves. A memory that gave them a little happiness in their cruel lives. They cry together, and the last remnants of Takopi fade away. They wish each of the children the best as they venture through childhood. In the future, it is seen that Shizuka and Marina are friends who, years later, continue to bond over that little sketch in Shizuka's notebook. Well, now is an interesting ending. At first I felt conflicted about it, but I've come around to like the ending. It wasn't perfect. I feel things wrapped up a little too quickly and a little too neatly. I don't think it's impossible for Shizuka and Marina to make up and become friends. I just believe it would have taken a lot longer and much more than just a faint memory of Takopi. My headcanon is that Takopi remained in their heads as a subconscious guiding voice that led them to their eventual endings, such as Naoki getting closer to his brother and staying away from the girls, and Marina stopping her abuse of Shizuka because of the voice of Takopi apologizing. I don't think the ending is bad, and I'm happy that it's actually a happy ending, but I feel it could have been done better. Well, with that being said, we have covered the entirety of Takopi's original sin, an emotional journey with complex characters that I feel executed its job quite well. The animation is gorgeous, of course, and the voice acting is perfect, which is a hard feat for such an emotionally intense story. Speaking of which, the dark, and I mean dark, themes present in this show are taken as seriously as they need to, and they are explored through and through, showing how they affect each of these characters. The bright Takopi is the only source of joy and light in this entire show, and in the lives of these characters. Even though they don't solve their problems directly, they are someone you can talk to, cry to, and vent to. They are someone who guides you to a better path. Sounds like the perfect friend. I believe just like in the real world, you can't fix someone's personal issues. You can only support and guide them to fixing themselves. And that is exactly what Takopi did in the end, which is why I like the ending. Each character is very morally questionable, as there are both good sides and bad sides to them. Just like Naoki said, people are both good and bad. I believe it's a spectrum, and these guys are all over the thing. My main criticism is that despite these characters being good when it comes to trauma and morality, they really aren't outside of it. Like, what do we actually know about Shizuka? What is her personality like? What are her interests? How was she before her father left? I wish there were more characterization given to flesh out and make these characters feel more realistic, which would have made the emotional moments hit even harder. Despite all that, I believe the message this show presents is a good one, and that is the most important part of a story such as this one. The peak episode will go to Azuma-kun's salvation for its complete focus on Naoki and his trauma, with an uplifting conclusion from one of the only good people in this show. Honorable mention goes to 2U in 2002 for its plot twist and focus on Takopi's conflict when it comes to Shizuka. The weak episode will go to Takopi's confession, and it's not really a weak episode. It's just the episode with the least going for it, and even still, it has a lot. And there you go. Takopi's Original Sin was released in 2025 and immediately became popular and acclaimed for its dark and depressing plot. I believe it will definitely go down as one of the most infamous animes to cry and be depressed to. And as always, thanks for watching.